Okay, can everybody take their seat? We're going to try to transition to our next part of our day. I got to tell you, everybody, I'm really excited about this. I think it's great that so many of you came out. Okay, really quickly, I just wanted to kind of wrap up the activity that we just did. I hope that you all had a chance to visit this table, to sign up for the March for Life, and to do some direct service work. There wasn't enough of everything for everybody in direct service, but we got a lot of things done. So I just want to talk about, very, very briefly, about our direct service work. I had a conversation with Joe. Sorry to put you on the spot there, Joe, but this is important too, because we talk about stepping with the first foot of social justice, and that is important because, like I said, if you're giving somebody a cup of water and you think that's charity work, it's not. But a lot of times we have to do the charity work first, don't we? And we don't have that option because people are in need. And so I don't want you to get the idea that we're going to skip over the charity work until we get to the root cause of whatever it is that's happening. That's not what I'm talking about. It's a beautiful thing when we give of our time, talent, and treasure, and it's absolutely needed. And so I just wanted to clarify that so that you're not left with the wrong impression that, oh, I can't do any of that direct service work because she said we're supposed to do social justice first. So, so what did you think about? Yeah, we have to walk with both feet, absolutely. And it's bigger than just one or the other, right? It's together. So was that an okay experience? I have to say it started out really nice and quiet at first. Now, is there any teachers in this room? It's like, now you know where they get it, right? So, but I hope that it was an enjoyable experience for you, that it was a little bit different than most of your direct service work that you've maybe done in the past, and hopefully you have some ideas of things you can take back to your own parishes. All right? And now I'm going to turn it over to Terry for our next fun and exciting adventure here today.
All right, I'm going to invite three of you up here to join me. And don't worry, it's not random, so you can breathe easy. Molly and Rita and MaElena, if you would come up and find a seat, that would be wonderful. We joked that we'd make one of them like a padded, cushioned seat and see like who got up here first and got to pick the good one, but. All right, so for this next part of our day, we have invited these three wonderful members of our diocese to share with us briefly before we all get the chance to do some brainstorming on how we can continue to live out those 2 feet of love and action that we just learned about and experienced. You know, we've been doing these events for a number of years. I know some of you have been coming back with us year after year, and it's always so great to see you, but kind of the number one piece of feedback that we get continually after these is that there's never quite enough time for the fellowship and the idea sharing. And, oh, I wish I could have asked that group how they're doing that. And, oh, I heard somebody mention this, but I didn't get to talk to them about that. And my guess is you may have similar feedback at the end of the day today too, because there just never is quite enough time for that. But we wanted to intentionally build some of that in today to show you that we're taking that feedback, and we believe that that idea sharing really is important, because we know a lot of you in your groups or just your own individual passions and lives are doing these 2 feet of love and action very well. And so we wanted to invite a few folks from our diocese to share how they are living out both of these feet in their different organizations or in their parishes. So they are going to share with us briefly, and then we will have some time for question and answer if you have any questions for them. So again, find that ideas sheet or another piece of paper in your folder. Make note if you think of a specific question for any of them or for the panel as a whole. And then after those questions, then we're just a pre-warning. If you're an introvert like me, you appreciate the warning. We are going to ask you to talk at your table about this as well and share some ideas or some questions you have with one another. So that's kind of what our next 45 minutes to an hour of time is going to look like. But to start, as I said, we have invited our three panelists, and I want to introduce each of them. I'll introduce all three of them, and then we'll pass the microphone and let them each share a little bit. So first, to my right here, we have Molly Weyrens. Molly says that she is bumbling along as best she can on this journey of faith and action. She grew up in St. Cloud and attended Concordia College in Moorhead, go Cobbers, and then the School of Theology at St. John's University. Her journey has included teaching high school theology in Rochester, so bless her heart for doing that, as well as working as a campus minister at the College of St. Scholastica in Duluth. There, Molly developed a deep love for peace and justice work within a community of amazing people. She ventured back to central Minnesota, spending 3 years in the monastery at St. Benedict's. And after a great experience and lots of discernment there, she moved on from the monastery and is currently working as pastoral associate at Christ Our Light Catholic Church that serves the communities of Princeton and Zimmerman, so on the eastern side of our diocese. Molly is also involved with the Central Minnesota Catholic Worker, the Social Concerns Group at St. Francis Xavier Church in Sartell, and she serves on the board of Catholic Charities. Molly loves the outdoors and being active. She also enjoys good conversations with many various beverages. And next we have Rita. Rita von Holtum is a parishioner at St. Mary's Parish in Alexandria in the western side of our diocese, where she is active on their parish's Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation team. Rita is also a school sister of Notre Dame. She got her BA from Mount Mary in Milwaukee and her MA from Seattle University. Though her education in social justice began long before that, by observing how her family participated in political campaigns and the conversation topics of the adults in her life that shared the message with her, don't let stuff happen to other people that you don't want to happen to you. She says that at her age, her bio is basically that I am alive and still very passionate about justice, peace, and the integrity of creation. And finally, we have MaElena Gutierrez. MaElena is a wife and a mother, and I will just note that it is some of her family who has been doing the interpretation for us today, so we're very grateful for their whole family. MaElena is also the director of Fe y Justicia, which is a faith-based, Latino-led organization striving to bring justice and provide kindness and compassion to our community throughout central Minnesota. And they've been integral in the work with our immigrant community here in our diocese. MaElena is also involved in her parish of St. Joseph in Waite Park, which is part of our hosting together as one area Catholic community today. So welcome Molly, Rita, and MaElena. And we gave these panelists just one question to speak on for you today, though it's probably a big question, but the question is simply, tell us a few examples of how you and or your community live out the 2 feet of love in action, the direct service and the advocacy. So, Molly, would you like to begin? Do you want to use this or that one? Oh, well, yeah. Why don't you use this one, because that one was cutting in and out a little bit. Great.
Hello. So as I was thinking about this, it brought me to a story that happened a couple weeks ago at church. We had these 2 young men who were seniors in high school at Elk River High School, and they had started a social justice club at Elk River High School. And I was saying, oh, that is so great. And it was after church, and we were having a kind of juice and cookies and coffee, and so there are a lot of people around. And he said, yeah, it's kind of hard though, you know, getting people involved. And I said, oh really? I said, see all these people? See all these people? They don't do it either. I said, not that none of them do it, but it's hard for adults. It's hard for us to get involved too. So I said, you know what? Keep it up. Like, you are starting right now, and that is huge. Because this is not easy work. And I love that sentence, whoever said it, some say Dorothy Day, some say others, about it's not about being successful, but it's about being faithful. And I love that sentence. That keeps me going many, many a day. I went to St. John's School of Theology, and I would say that when I saw some of the justice stuff getting done, I was like, oh, that's those people. That's what they're doing. And I'll have to say, Bernie, even when I saw Bernie's classes, I was like, okay, that's what he's doing. Okay? And I knew it was good, but I just didn't see myself participating as much. And it wasn't until I was up in Duluth, I lived there for 8 years, and I kind of felt like I was in an incubator because there was so many great peace and justice things going on, activities, people just really living out their faith, both in the streets, in the churches, and then at the state capitol. It was a great combination of things. And I was thinking about our parish at Christ Our Light today because our motto or our theme is love God, live the Eucharist. So at the end of every Mass, that's what we say. We say, love God, the priest says, love God, and we all say, live the Eucharist. And so how do we live that out in the places that we are at? Advocacy, like Joanne was just saying, it's not the sexy part of this work, because it's hard, writing letters, calling people on the phone, and it's like, does it even work? But it does work. Like, they keep track of letters and how many, and they keep track of phone calls. And just imagine being one of our representatives down at the Capitol and hearing from us. I mean, it gets lonely down there, okay? They want to hear from us because that means we care and that we're curious. Just a few things about what's happening at our place. I would say as we talk about service, call it service. Don't call it volunteering. I think service really gives us a more intentional focus, and that's what we're called to do. We're called to serve. We're here, we get the foundation, as Father Timothy was saying, from our faith, okay? Because you can volunteer anywhere. I mean, the YMCA you volunteer, and Boy Scouts you volunteer. But it's like, you know what, we serve. I mean, those places serve too, but really take stock in that. So at Christ Our Light, we do a lot of service. One of the things that we were able to do was partner with our Lutheran church in town, and we do what's called Princeton Community Table. It's once a month, a free meal, and there's 200 or 300 people that come. Now, not all of those people are ones who are living on the edge, okay, of financial burden, but it's a great community event. Plus, it brings together Protestants and Catholics, and that has started conversations around other things because of the work we're doing together and the relationships that have formed because of that event. So know that when you start something, it also has ripple effects out. In terms of advocacy, we've been having some conversations in Princeton about housing. We all offer assistance a bit. We're lucky in our parish, we have a big assistance fund. So we give out stays at the hotel or rental assistance or utility bills or storage units, okay? Money for those things. But we also want to make sure that we're also saying why do we have to do this? So as a community, we're gathering together with people from the Lutheran Church and the Presbyterian Church and the Methodist Church and saying, okay, what can we do together? Because our town isn't that big, right? Princeton isn't that large, so why would each of us try to work on that separately? We're much stronger when we can do things together. I also think one of the things coming up that we're doing, we have a great opportunity because our liturgist brother-in-law is the CEO of Lutheran World Relief. So that's like having the executive director of Catholic Charities International, okay? So he is actually coming. His name's Daniel Speckard. He is also a former ambassador, U.S. ambassador to Belarus and Greece. And he's going to be coming, and all of you are invited, November 13th, noon to 2 o'clock at Christ Our Light. He's going to be doing a virtual lecture, and then we're going to be doing some question and answer, and then just kind of talking about that call of all of us to serve. Just as an aside, my colleague Mo was talking to him the other day and just said, how you doing? Like, what are you working on? And he said, I am just so worried about Ukraine and winter coming. So just hold them in prayer as much as you can. They're trying really hard to work on getting them the supplies they need, and also school starting. It's just been really, really hard. And she said, yeah, and then you've got Pakistan with all the floods. And he said, you know what, we can't even focus on Pakistan, like somebody else has to do that one, because this is so big. So just fascinating too, seeing that global perspective. Just a couple of resources I would throw out there. Just Faith, holy cow, one of the best resources I've ever come across. That's how our social justice committee at Sartell started. It was a pretty intense program. They have smaller units. We did a 9-month-long program. We met just about every week, but it went well. Bread for the World is another great program. Don't be afraid to use Protestant and other denomination stuff. They have really good stuff. They use our stuff, so use their stuff. Catholic Charities, Minnesota Catholic Conference has good resources. The Joint Religious Legislative Coalition, JRLC, it's a great place. Jewish, Christian, and Muslim combination there, which is really nice to get that interfaith piece. They have really good, if you go on their website, they have really good legislative updates. So if you're just wondering, because that can get kind of hard to kind of wade through the weeds on some of that stuff, they have really nice ways they explain housing, education, criminal justice legislation, and so on. So I would say that would be a really good one. Bulletin blurbs, like one year we just did every week during Lent, something on Catholic social teaching. Fair trade is so easy. If you don't have fair trade at your parish, please consider it. We just set it up in our lobby, and people just self-serve. Coffee, tea, chocolate. Super easy, great way to bring that to people's consciousness. Personally, I just keep gift cards in my car for Quick Trip or for holiday, like for $10 or so. And when I see people on the street, sometimes I'll be able to stop and hand them a card. Just an easy way to do some outreach. Videos, there's so many videos. Just say, we're gonna watch this video on, poverty in the United States for half an hour, and then we're gonna have a discussion. And don't feel like you need to know everything about poverty. You don't. You show the movie, and then you just talk about how this is a big issue. I don't understand it all either, but what do people have to say, Great way to get the conversation started. Letter writing, of course. If you haven't written a letter ever, try to at least do one this year. Days of service, there's mission trips we've talked about. And I think of the experience of a friend of mine whose husband was very involved with Amnesty International. And she kind of just let him do his thing, and she was a dean of students actually at the college, and finally she went with him one day to one of his marches down in the cities. They were gonna have a rally, and so she went down to it, and she said, oh my gosh, like just her eyes were opened, and she says, now I can't not know. Like, now when it comes up, like, I can't just put that to the side anymore. So I think just anything you can do to have people have an experience and have their heart tugged a bit, have their emotions stirred a bit, that's where we get people to say, I want to keep doing something about this, Like, I can't not know anymore that people don't have a home. Yesterday it was pouring rain outside, okay? Lincoln Center in St. Cloud has people that stay inside. They can only have a certain number inside. So then they're just supposed to let everybody else stay outside and sit in the pouring rain all day, okay? How do we work on that? So that is what I am gonna say, and I've been told to stop, so I'm gonna stop. Anyway, last line is, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room, people. Get out there.
How does this work? Like this? Woo! Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Molly. Just a comment to begin with. When in my younger years working, I would go out to the UN for some of the NGO conferences, like the big one on women and poverty and worldwide. And this seems sort of like the UN. From all different places and configurations and all of that. So that's pretty exciting to be at the UN and be able to stand where the general stands and deliver a little message. Secondly, this is not my home diocese. I'm really from the New Ulm Diocese, and I began with Bishop Schladweiler. He had a car we called the Schladsmobile, and then was Bishop Lucker, and then Bishop Neinstedt. And then I turned 75 and I retired and wanted to move where I could fish for walleye. Well, where would you go besides Alexandria? So that's how I landed. The reason I bring that up is this is probably the first time for me that I'm in a group of, Catholics, church people. Recognize not one of you except Ken. He's a transplant from New Ulm also. So I'd like to begin with a brief little story. It's about my brother, whom I'm going to call Grandpa. Several years ago, he came to Alec with his 2 grandchildren. One was 3 and one was 5. And we were at the Travelers Cafe. And at the end of the meal, the waitress came with cookies because these 2 kids were so good. Well, obviously, they had a nun breathing down their back. But, and Alex, the older one, said, "Grandpa, I don't like this cookie." And that was such a great opening for Grandpa to start. Well, if you would watch TV and see those poor kids starving, and he went on and on. So, okay, she got her lesson on that. We went back to the other part of the conversation. A little while later, little Eli says, "Grandpa, why don't you turn off the TV?" And, for a 3-year-old, you sort of think that's sort of cute. But I thought, what a powerful lesson. And that's what our Social Concerns Committee is about at Alexandria, is to make sure the TV stays on and that there's a constant awareness and sensitivity to the issues of our earth and our world. And I'd just like to mention a few of those. The one on charity, we're fortunate, I think, in our parish. For the works of charity, we have a special committee called the Parish Outreach Committee. And we tithe every week, and I think it's 7% right off the top before any other bills get paid. That's tithed, and that's the money we use for the Outreach Committee. And so that's how we can contribute to like the United Way and West Central, all the organizations that are doing marvelous social justice work in the community that we can contribute. Probably one of the ones that I'm really excited about was there was an ad hoc committee in Alexandria, about 4 or 5 people, and decided we wanted to invite some of the Afghan people from Camp McCoy to our area. And it takes about $10,000 per person to sponsor one. That's just what you pay to bring them here, and then you go from there. Through our charity fund, we were able to sponsor one of those for $10,000. And that's just a wonderful thing. So, how does this charity stuff work with our JPIC committee? By the way, we call our committee Justice, Peace, and Integrity of Creation. That's how we get JPIC. Well, we're on the systemic side of that, as people have talked about. Things like legislative action. If you want to be discouraged, try that one. Yeah. And so the Day on the Hill is extremely important. Now, I don't know what success is for that, but to get 5, 6 people to do that. And the regular calls to Congress. But we take for our agenda for legislative action the JRLC agenda for the year, which gives us plenty of food for thought and work. And we work on the educational aspect of it, like updates in the parish bulletin, and after the Day on the Hill is done and you've seen your senators and congressmen, then we write articles in the bulletin about who passed what and who passed some of the agenda bills. Otherwise, I think people, you know, we want to keep them alert to the social justice things and name the congressmen who are voting against some of the bills that JRLC stands for, and certainly we do. So it's not always done perfectly, but hopefully we're getting more consistent in that particular process. So some of the issues which we deal with, we do a yearly strategic planning. Doesn't that sound awesome? And we get our ideas from voices that are coming, like from Pope Francis, from the UN, very important globally, and some of the American bishops and cardinals who publish some stunning and incisive articles on justice issues of our present time. And also, look where the latest martyrs are. What caused their martyrdom around the world? It's a good sign where a justice issue is being addressed, where you find the modern day martyrs. So one of the things we began this committee about 10 years ago when I first retired there, was each year we celebrate, is that me? A peace mass at August 6th to help make us remember about bombs, atomic bombs. It's not just to denigrate that the United States was the first country and only country to have used a bomb, but it's update us on what the church is teaching about war and bombing and atomic bombs. And it's a good occasion, and we will do that like when we have an occasion. We always do the educational piece for about 6 weeks, you know, continually in the bulletin or flyers or in your face type thing. So, and then we would celebrate a peace mass. And one of the first things we did was to get a peace pool in our community. And at the time, our pastor, Father Steve Binsfield, you know, you always plant a peace pool, you all know that process. He said, no, I want it so that we can move it where it's needed. So one of the places that it always has been, we just had a change in pastor, I don't know what will happen, but it was always at the Christmas crib, that peace pool. And you know, if you don't know about the peace pool, just look it up. You know, it's, how many of you have a peace pool in your parish? Good, so here's the experts over here. Then we also went to the faith formation departments and asked if they would have their, 1 minute, oh my gosh. Okay, to make a peace poll for their classroom. And then we celebrated that at a mass. They brought their peace polls. But one classroom teacher told me that when there's a conflict issue in their classroom, they join around their peace poll to discuss it. Now that's the United Nations right there in that classroom. Another year we taught the story of Sadako. This was in preparation for that peace mass. Every year we did something in preparation. So we invited the whole parish. We made 1,000 peace cranes and put them on a bare tree. You know how you can do all of that. That was really an awesome experience to have that build for 6 weeks before our peace mass. Immigration and the refugees. We prepared, I found 100 stories of real live refugees. And, I'm supposed to stop. Okay. And I wrote up the story, and we had 100 of them. We took off about 800, 900 copies and asked them to pick one up, take it home, and welcome a refugee in their home. Name that person, have them at your family table, have them in your, if you pray, talk about them. You know how in school they have that, what is it? They do a picture of somebody and send it around to grandma and everything. Tell your family you have a new member and their name, so that you become as close emotionally as you can, because it's only in that encounter, I think, that our hearts are changed. So that's, and we do several things. We had John Kettler out 3 different times. He's from the Minnesota Law Office for Immigrants, and really helped us with some of our issues around immigrants in the community that were being deported, etc. You just have to hear this one on the pro-life issues. There's very easy to get an anti-abortion group together, but we really tried to teach about the consistent life ethic. And so to have an experience of that, I researched writing to people on death row and studying what's it like to be on death row, even knowing your crime and what happened, all of that. And so in working with the warden in some of the prisons down south, put together a little, copies of things, and also asked the parish if they would write, and that would be a consistent writing, not just once. They get enough of that once somebody helps them, and then on death row. So, that was a nunc dimittis time for me. If we could get that done, and also then we did teaching on capital punishment. It was a great way to put that all together. I was gone the Sunday that we put that out for the parish after 6 weeks of preparation. And the second week it was out, I was so excited. I was down in Texas, and I called back to one of our GPIC members, said, "Kathleen, how many packets were gone?" And she said, "Well, Rita, there was one sheet gone, and I think somebody needs scratch paper." So we know what that taught us was we have lots more work to do about pro-life and what it is, and the consistent ethic of life. And so in those experiences, there's just tremendous stuff that can happen. So let's see. We did Lenten film series during Lent, 3 sets of films. And it wasn't for fun. We had things we wanted them to become sensitive to. So the first one we did was on our modern day martyrs, like Oscar Romero. We had Dorothy Day, even though she wasn't martyred in one sense, Martin Luther King, and then the 4 women martyred in El Salvador. And then we, would have information again for 2 weeks ahead of time, that they had some background. And so then we could talk in our discussion about the current issues of the United States involvement in Central and South America, which is huge. You've been there, I believe? I was right. And our military bases that, and our taxes, when it gets spent on preparation of military and other country to assassinate faith formation teachers and priests, etc. But those are important ways, but at least they have the background and the sensitivity, and I have to quit. And we're big on the environment, and we follow the UN, on the environment. Several years ago, the UN asked the world to plant was it 2 billion, 3 billion trees? And they put out wonderful writings about the importance of trees on our earth, the Amazon, all of that. And so we did that, you know, 3-4 weeks of getting them tenderized. And then about the end of April, we gave out 75 tree things to plant for the family to take home and to guard and protect. And as their symbol of protecting and caring for the universe. And in the process, we had a couple of weeks at noon. We did noon discussion sessions on Laudato Si, so that book got out there, you know, in the parish. So anyway, I better quit. But it's wonderful. Learning words like Christophany and new cosmology, learning the new vocabulary. Good stuff. What? Good stuff. Sit down. Sit down.
Hi, everyone. Well, I think it's my time to talk about what we do as our organization, Faith and Justice, Fe y Justicia organization. I am member of St. Joseph's Church in Way Park, where I start my ministry, and that was a call that I was feeling. When I arrived to that parish, I see a lot of need. Our community was struggling a lot. I was struggling a lot. My family was struggling a lot. And then I was not able to speak English, the language. And after years, I've been not able to speak the language and using translation to raise my concerns or to raise the concerns of others. Then I decided to go to the school. I did 3 years of school and I graduate I was on Discovery ESL and I graduate from there. And I noticed that since then I have not been using translation. I have not been using somebody to translate for me. So, and I am glad because I am able to bring the testimonies to the legislation, bring people with me to do their testimony in front of the legislation, and to speak about my experience, but to everybody else bring their experience that they are being through this crisis while we are been living in another country that we feel that is our home, but sometimes we feel that we are not welcome. So the first thing that we have been doing, not by myself, is with the people that you see around here, the Latinos that you see around here, plus many others that are not here present. We did the sheriff agreement. The sheriff agreement was in partner with another organizations and another leaders of the community, but we were leading that sheriff agreement because we were struggling for more than 20 years with the sheriff that we used to have before. So that sheriff agreement was signed last year, and it's going to be 1 year this month, and we will review that agreement next month after the elections. So we will review the agreement with the sheriff. Sheriff Soika now has been, we educate our community, our Latino community, but we also educate the people who is on the government, our representatives. So the other sheriff was not signed the visa U visa, and this sheriff is signing the U visa. The U visa is for people that is victim of crime, and the other sheriff was not signed for the people that was victim of crime. So we have that win. We have the win of the sheriff agreement. We also work with health. We start the clinic, the health clinic, with one doctor. And this is partnered with, like I said, other leaders in the community, and one of the doctors from Little Falls, from Central Care. We start that clinic with another people from Central Care too that was able to provide some resources for us. And we have one clinic here in Way Park, St. Joseph Church at the school, and we have another one in Lone Prairie. And why we are looking for this? Because we as immigrants, we pay taxes, but we cannot have help for ourselves. It's why we are doing these clinics, but it's not just for people that, it's not just to prevent the big concerns of people that get cancer or other disease. Is to get proofs to pass a legislation and the Minnesota, to pass a legislation to extend Minnesota care for everyone, not just for people who has documents, but also for those that are working hard in this country and that doesn't have access for care. So those are the things that we are working, bringing testimonies, because it got worse with COVID. We have people that got in coma, kids that got in coma, kids that were hospitalized in the cities, and they didn't have health care. So it's why we are bringing those testimonies to the legislation, because we need this to pass on the legislation. Other thing that we are working with the education. Education, our citizens were not able to go to the college, or they stopped going to the college because they don't know how to use the FAFSA. They don't know how to use it because they are citizens, but their parents are not. They don't have a social security, and they were not able to fill it out that because their parents doesn't have social security. So what we did is we are helping the students that are able to apply for that to go to the college and get the things that they need to get to go to the college. The other thing that we work is on the DREAM Act. The DREAM Act was passed and some years ago, like probably 20 years ago, or I can't remember the year, but the DREAM Act is for people who has that are not on green card. So if they have a social security but they don't have green card, they are able to apply for DREAM Act, but they just was getting $500, $1,000 to go to the school. Now, we were able, the governor changed a little bit there, and they can give more for the students that living here for many years but don't have social security. Now they are able to get more scholarship to go to the college. And I see that she's checking my time. So we are being able to the students apply for DREAM Act to get more access for education, and they are able to get more education in the college. So the other thing that we are doing, we are working with the workers. This is just like we have been working with them, but just recently I've been very in a lot of stress because we find out that there was workers close to here, like about 10 miles away from here, that they were working every day 16 to 17 hours with no bathrooms closed, with no water, and it's many hours a day working. And the treated was really bad. So we call the U.S. labor standards to make sure they go and check on them, because they came with H-2 visa to work, but the contract says 6 hours a day, and Saturdays 5 hours a day. And they were working those extremely hours and not having time to go to the doctor, to go and buy their food and things like that. So we are doing all this work, so trying to help our workers to have a good life when they come to work here and to do this job, but in better conditions. So 2 or 3 days ago, 25 workers walked out of the job because they were so in bad conditions. And we are in that farm is under investigation by the U.S. Labor Department. But this is because we were calling and calling and calling and calling. So those are the things that we are doing. We are doing also immigration, partner with Advocacy for Human Rights, Legal Aid, and Binger Center, and many others that provide some free consultations for our community. So we know that we have many people that has green cards for many years, and they have not been able to apply for citizenship because they don't have information. Now we are able to help them to apply. Now we are gonna have the first clinic for people that is gonna get citizenship. The first clinic will be this Monday, tomorrow. No, not on Monday. It will be. So for people that is on green card, we are gonna help through social, like, I can't remember right now, but it's another organization that is helping us too. So, and we also going to have, we have been helping a lot of immigrants with the asylum asylum seeker application. And because we started last year, this month, October 5th, we are gonna start to fill it up the work permit. So we are working on that. We are doing a lot of work on immigration, pushing the legislation to pass immigration reform. That has been many, many years that we are working on that, but like it's not easy. So those are the things that we have been doing, and it's a lot of work, but we are trying.
Can I ask one quick question? The extend Minnesota Care, is there a link I can just look online, or maybe go to Minnesota, United States Bishops of Minnesota, Minnesota Bishops, and have a link to that. See how we can support that.
The bill to expand Minnesota Care undocumented. Yeah. Do you want to share any links, and then I can answer it?
Yeah, we can, if you share your information with us, we can send you the information. Perla is an organizer. I don't know where she's the one that it's been doing. Could you please, whoever wants to have more information, as soon the session starts, she will be the person who is going to bring the testimonies to the legislation. So we can give you the numbers. We can give you more information after this. Yeah, you can search the bill and everything.
Yeah, and to your point, Deacon Joe, about the Minnesota bishops. So this past session, I don't know if the link is still live because that session has ended and moved on, but the Bishop Hebda of the Archdiocese, there's a video of his testimony before the House, I believe, and others. The bishops are very supportive of us moving that legislation forward. So, other questions? Yep. Yeah, thank you, Father Timothy. So we haven't addressed it yet, but in your folder there is a 2-page, or it's actually 3 pages, but only 2 pieces of paper, with a number of different advocacy links, many of which we've kind of mentioned throughout the day today, some that haven't. There's probably still plenty that are missing on there as well, but we'll draw your attention to that. We also plan to send you that document electronically afterwards, just so that you have all of those links live, so you can just click on them instead of having to go in and type all of them out, if that's helpful. But yeah, a lot of different resources in there, including the Minnesota Catholic Conference of Bishops, the United States Council of Bishops, a number of their different offices within both of those, plus some other organizations and things like that. So good. Yes, same, Molly was saying Catholic Charities has a new website, so same link, same web address, but new look and some additional resources and things on there as well. Thank you. Other questions for our panelists? That we probably only have time for about 1 or 2 more at most, but did anyone have a question for Molly, Rita, or MaElena?
I just want to say there's a little thing in the middle of your table from the Catholic worker. We're doing a prayer station tomorrow if anybody's interested. And I have a sign-up sheet here if you're interested in just being on the email list for the Central Minnesota Catholic worker. We do prayer and advocacy every so often, and just another way to be active.
Great, thank you. All right, so you were warned. We are going to spend a few minutes. We asked you just for about 5 minutes. Turn back to your table. Were there ideas that any of our panelists kind of sparked in your mind that you want to talk about, ask about, explore more? Do you have ideas? What things are you doing in your parishes, your organizations, your own life? This is our idea sharing time. Let's fill up that piece of paper that says ideas. Just, fill it all up with ideas that you can take back for living out our 2 feet of love in action.
We did have just one other comment before we go into that too, that you might want to talk about it at your table. Again, connecting all of this discussion about justice in action back to the beginning talks by Dr. Evans. connection with the Eucharist as well. So just to keep that in mind as well. And as Sheila wanted to mention too, this understanding that the Eucharist is truly the body of Christ. It is our encounter with our risen Lord. And how does that encounter at the Mass have that impact, like Dr. Evans was talking about, in your encounter with our brothers and sisters, not only local in the community, but in our world? So talk about that at your tables as well.